Imagine this. It's your birthday. You're sitting alone at your kitchen table, a single candle flickering on a store-bought cake you bought for yourself. Your phone buzzes. You smile, thinking maybe, just maybe, your only son remembered. You open the message. The words hit like ice water. We need space from you. Please don't reach out anymore. Below it, a little red heart. Not from him. From his wife. Sarah liked the message that told me it's your birthday to disappear. You're sitting alone. My name is Margaret Thompson. A single candle flickering on a store-bought cake you bought for yourself. For 25 years, I built something after my husband died. You smile, a real estate portfolio worth millions. Your only son remembered. Our family comfortable. You open the message. The words hit like ice water. I paid for Ethan's college, we need space his wedding, the down payment on their dream house. Private school for a little red heart. I thought I was giving them roots. From his wife. Turns out I was just liked the message that told me his mother no longer needed. That my name isn't Margaret Thompson. Everyone calls me Maggie. And in that moment, 25 years, I built something after my husband died. Not with tears. A real estate portfolio worth millions that kept our family comfortable. I blocked their numbers. I blocked their access. I paid for Ethan's college, but his wedding, here's the part they never expected. On their dream house. When you cut someone off for millions they thought were guaranteed, I thought I was giving them eventually has to call. Turns out, and when it did, just an open everything wallet exploded. With feelings they no longer needed. It started with one forgotten birthday. That text wasn't just rejection. The signs had been piling up for years, like unpaid and in that bills moment, nobody bothered inside me snapped. After my husband tears, I didn't just grieve. I rolled up my sleeves. The real estate empire he started became their full-time fight. Everything. Late nights. But here's the part they never expected. Properties when you cut someone off for millions they thought were guaranteed. I told myself every dollar was for his future. And when it did, college tuition exploded. Covered. It started with wedding and forgotten birthday, my gift. But the signs down payment on their four-bedroom house in the suburbs. Bills nobody bothered to mention. Without blinking. After my husband passed, even Sarah's little boutique failed twice. I rolled up my sleeves. I quietly wired the real estate money both times. He started became my full-time fight, but help turned into expectation. Endless deals, subtle digs, properties flipping while I raised. You're so old school with money. I told myself every dollar was for his future, but it's dated. College tuition. Sarah's smiles got tighter every time I said no to another. Down payment on their four-bedroom house stopped in the calling unless he needed something. Signed a check without Ava's blinking. Birthday cards from me. Sarah's little boutique failed twice. I told myself they were busy. The bailout money young couples are busy. Family have you ever caught yourself making excuses turned into people who stopped making effort for you? Subtle digs started. Then came my 62nd birthday. You're so old school with money. No grandma's house is just that text but at 8:47 p.m. Sarah's smiles got tighter every time I said no to another small favor. Little heart emoji. Ethan sat there like a signature on a divorce decree. Ava's birthday card right away. I sat in the dark kitchen. I told myself they were busy and felt something young couples are busy, not heartbreak. Have you ever caught yourself making excuses for people who stopped making effort for you? Not to reply. Then came my 62nd birthday. What I told him to do next, they never saw it coming. Just that I didn't just block their numbers. I severed the financial umbilical cord they never thought would snap. The next morning I sat in my lawyer's office. Sat there like a signature on a divorce decree. Cold. I didn't cry right away. Across his desk I sat in the dark kitchen. We didn't yell. We didn't cry. Felt something shift. We worked, not heartbreak. First, the trust, clarity, irrevocable. I picked up my phone already again, funded years not ago to reply, for Ethan's future to call security. My lawyer. I had named him beneficiary. They never saw it coming. But with a clause I didn't just forgot about. I severed the financial umbilical cord. Redirect distributions if material. The next morning I sat in my lawyer's office before the coffee. My lawyer read the language aloud. Paper spread across his desk like battle plans. Perfect. We didn't yell. The joint accounts. We didn't cry. Small ones they used for emergencies. The trusts. I drained what was mine already funded years ago for credit cards tied to my line of credit. I had named him beneficiary. The beach house they borrowed every summer. I almost forgot about. Changed. The successor trustee reset. Could redirect distributions co-signed for material breach of familial relationship. Title transferred fully. My lawyer read the language aloud. They thought space cold meant time to breathe luxury without my voice in their ear. The joint accounts. They had no idea small ones they used for emergencies. Safety. Net. I drained what was mine and closed them. I didn't do it in anger. Credit cards tied to my line of credit. I did it in protection. The beach house they borrowed every summer. And I built brick by brick. Alarm codes reset. Of the piece the car I finally designed for Ava's 16th birthday. Silent. Title transferred fully to me overnight. No, Mom. They thought space. We were just stressed. Meant time to breathe luxury without my voice in their ear. Then one Saturday afternoon, they had no idea cameras would mean zero access to the safety idling at the gate. I spent decades weaving. Angrier.
I didn't do it in anger.
He buzzed the intercom.
Not really.
Over and
I
over.
did it in protection.
When I didn't answer,
of the legacy
he
my
started
late husband
shouting.
and I built brick
But
by
what he
brick,
discovered when he
dollar by
finally
dollar,
checked his bank app
of the peace
that
I
was finally the
deserved.
beginning of the storm.
For weeks,
They tried
silence.
everything to claw their
no
way back.
apology texts,
Except the one thing that
Mom.
might have actually
We were
worked,
just stressed calls,
saying sorry without
nothing.
an agenda.
Then
First
one
came
Saturday
the flying
afternoon,
monkeys.
my security camera
Mutual
pinged.
friends texting me
Ethan's
variations
SUV
of,
idling at the
Ethan
gate.
says you've lost
He looked
it,
thinner.
Maggie.
What's
Angrier.
going on?
He buzzed
Relatives
the intercom
I hadn't heard
over
from in years
and
suddenly
over. Checking in.
When I didn't answer,
fishing for my
he
side,
started shouting
so they could report
but
back.
what he discovered
Sarah
when he
even
finally
posted
checked his
cryptic
bank app,
Instagram
that
stories.
was only the beginning
Black and
of
white
the storm.
photos of broken
They
chains.
tried everything to
Captions
claw
like,
their way back.
Sometimes family
except the
is
one
the
thing that might
toxicity
have
you have
actually
to
worked.
release. Saying
Subtle,
sorry without an agenda.
real subtle.
First
Then
came
the
the
legal
flying
threat
monkeys.
started.
Mutual
A letter
friends
from their
texting
attorney
me
arrived,
variations
certified
of,
mail.
Ethan says you've
demanding
lost it,
clarification.
Maggie. What's going
on the
on?
trusts and accounts.
Relatives I hadn't heard
My
from
lawyer
in years
sent back
suddenly
one
checking
paragraph.
in. Fishing for my
Everything was done
side
per the original
so they could
documents
report back.
and recent valid
Sarah
amendments.
even posted
Case
cryptic
closed.
Instagram stories.
They didn't have standing.
Black and white photos
They never
of broken
really
chains.
did.
Captions
I stayed
like,
quiet.
Sometimes
No
family
social
is
media
the
wars.
toxicity you have
No
to release.
explanations. Subtle.
Just me,
Real
finally
subtle.
breathing.
Then the legal
Here's the
threat
twist
started.
I hadn't planned to
A
use.
letter from their
but,
attorney
it
arrived,
felt
certified
good.
mail.
Years earlier, I
demanding
paid off their
clarification
entire mortgage
on the
as a
trusts
surprise
and
gift.
accounts.
What
My
they didn't
lawyer
know,
sent back one
I structured
paragraph.
it as an interest-free
Everything was
loan,
done per the
callable
original
at my sole
documents
discretion
and
if
recent valid
familial
amendments.
relations
Case
materially
closed.
deteriorated.
They didn't have
The
standing.
paperwork sat in
They
a
never
drawer
really did.
for a decade.
I stayed quiet.
Untouched.
No
Until
social
now.
media wars.
I called it in.
No explanations.
Quietly. Through
Just
the bank.
me,
Finally
their monthly
breathing.
payment jumped from
Here's
zero
the twist I
to
hadn't
full
planned
principal
to use,
plus
but,
accrued
oh,
interest.
it felt good.
Overnight,
Years earlier, I
scrambled,
paid off their entire
sold the
mortgage
extra car.
as a surprise gift.
Ava switched to public
what they didn't
school
know.
mid-year.
I structured
Ethan's
it as
business,
an
some
interest-free
tech
loan,
consulting thing,
callable at my
started
sole
bleeding
discretion
red.
if
For
familial
months,
relations
I
materially
heard nothing
deteriorated.
direct. Just
the paperwork
echoes
sat
through the
in a
grapevine.
drawer for
Then
a decade.
one Tuesday morning, my
Untouched.
phone rang.
Until now.
Private caller.
I called it
my
in.
banker's voice.
Quietly, calm but
through
urgent.
the bank. Their
Mrs.
monthly
Thompson,
payment jumped from
your son
zero
just
to
attempted
full
to
principal
withdraw
plus accrued interest.
$250,000 from
Overnight,
the old joint linked
they
account.
scrambled.
The one you
Sold
thought
the
was
extra car.
dormant.
I
Ava
leaned
switched
back
to
in my
public
chair.
school mid-year.
But that's
Ethan's
not even the
business,
biggest
some
problem.
tech consulting thing.
The banker's
started
voice
bleeding
stayed
red.
professional.
For
but
months,
I could hear the
I
edge
heard
underneath.
nothing direct.
Mrs. Thompson.
Just echoes
The
through the
system
grapevine.
flagged the attempt
Then
as
one
a regular.
Tuesday morning, my
The
phone
account
rang.
they tried to access.
Private
It
caller.
was linked years
my
ago
banker's
as a backup
voice.
line.
Calm
one
but
you never
urgent.
formally closed.
Mrs. Thompson,
But your recent
your son
amendments
just
triggered
attempted to
full
withdraw
lockdown.
$250,000
No funds
from the
released.
old joint linked account.
No override
the
possible
one you thought was
without your
dormant.
signature.
I leaned
I
back
let out
in
a
my
breath.
chair.
I
But
didn't realize
that's not
I
even
was
the
holding
biggest problem.
$250,000.
The banker's voice stayed professional.
That was the exact
but
amount
I could
Ethan's
hear
startup
the edge
needed for the
underneath.
next payroll.
Mrs. Thompson,
According to a
the
whisper
system
I'd heard
flagged the
through a
attempt
mutual
as a
acquaintance.
regular.
The
Desperate
account
money.
they tried to access.
Last
It was
resort
linked
money.
years ago.
Then
as
the
a
banker
backup line.
dropped the real
one you
bomb.
never formally
They
closed.
weren't just trying to pull cash.
But your recent
They
amendments
submitted
triggered
documentation
full lockdown.
claiming you were
no
incapacitated.
funds released.
A doctor's
no
note.
override
A
possible
power of
without
attorney
your
form.
signature.
All
I
dated
let out a
recently.
breath. I
All
didn't realize
forged.
I was holding.
My stomach twisted.
$250,000.
Not just entitlement.
That was the exact amount
Attempted
Ethan's
fraud.
startup needed for the
I
next
thanked the
payroll.
banker,
According
ended the
to a
call,
whisper I'd heard
and sat
through
in
a mutual
silence for a
acquaintance.
long minute.
Desperate money.
Part of me wanted to
Last
laugh
resort
at
money.
the absurdity.
Then the banker
The other part
dropped the
felt
real
a
bomb.
fresh stab
They
of
weren't just trying to
betrayal.
pull cash.
So deep it
They
almost
submitted
stole my
documentation
breath.
claiming
Later
you were
that afternoon, a
incapacitated.
voicemail appeared
A doctor's
from Ethan.
note.
A
His
power
voice
of
cracked
attorney
on
form.
every
All
word.
dated recently.
Mom, the business
All
is
forged.
collapsing.
My
Ava's
stomach
tuition
twisted.
is due next week.
Not just entitlement.
Sarah's crying every
Attempted
night.
fraud.
We didn't mean
I
we just
thanked the
needed
banker,
space.
ended the
Please,
call, and
call
sat in
me.
silence for
We're
a
drowning.
long minute. I listened
Part of me
twice.
wanted to laugh.
No
at the
apology
absurdity.
for the birthday
The other
text.
part felt a fresh
No sorry
stab
for the
of
heart
betrayal.
emoji that started
so
it all.
deep it almost
Just
stole my
panic.
breath.
And
Later that afternoon, a
expectation.
voicemail
I didn't call
appeared
back.
from Ethan.
Instead,
His
I
voice
wired the
cracked on
equivalent amount,
every word.
$250,000.
Mom, the business is collapsing.
To the foundation in
Ava's
my late
tuition
husband's
is due
name.
next week. A scholarship
Sarah's
fund for
crying
kids
every
who
night.
actually needed help.
We didn't mean we just
They learned
needed
the
space.
hardest lesson money
Please,
can teach.
call me.
But was it
We're
finally
drowning.
enough to wake them up?
I listened twice.
Or had the bridge
No
already
apology
burned
for the
good?
birthday text.
That birthday
No
text
sorry
wasn't
for
the
the
end of
heart
our story.
emoji that that started
It was
it
the
all.
beginning of mine.
Just panic.
Months have
And
passed since the
expectation.
bank call. I didn't
Ethan
call back.
and Sarah are still
Instead,
out there,
I wired
struggling,
the equivalent amount
according to the quiet updates that trickle in through
to the
distant
foundation
relatives.
in my late
The
husband's
business
name.
folded. A
They
scholarship fund for
downsized to a
kids
small
who
apartment.
actually needed help.
Ava's adjusting
They
to a
learned
new
the
school.
hardest lesson money
No
can
lavish
teach. Vacations.
But was it finally
No
enough to wake
safety
them
net
up,
waiting in the
or
wings.
had the bridge
They reach out
already burned for
sometimes.
good? That
Short
birthday
messages.
text wasn't the
We
end of our
miss you,
story.
Mom.
It was the
Can we
beginning
talk?
of mine.
I read them.
Months have passed
I
since
feel
the
the
bank
old
call.
ache. Ethan
But
and
I don't
Sarah are
reply.
still out there,
Not yet.
struggling, maybe
According
not
to the
ever.
quiet updates
Blood
that
is
trickle
thick.
in through
Yes.
distant relatives.
But
The
entitlement
business
thins it
folded.
faster than you'd
They
believe.
downsized to
I
a small
spent
apartment.
decades proving
Ava's
love
adjusting
through money
to a new school.
until I realized
No
real
lavish
love doesn't come with a
vacations.
transaction
No
history.
safety net
I'm
waiting
okay
in the
now.
wings.
Truly.
They reach out sometimes.
Traveling alone. Short
Donating
messages.
to causes that matter.
We miss you, Mom. Reconnecting with
Can we
old friends
talk?
who never
I
asked
read
for a
them.
dime.
I
The
feel
house
the old
feels
ache,
quieter, but it
but
also
I don't
feels
reply.
like mine for
Not
the first
yet.
time in years. Maybe not ever. Sometimes space
Blood is
is
thick.
the kindest thing you
Yes.
can give someone.
But
And
entitlement
the
thins it
kindest
faster
thing you
than
can
you'd
give
believe.
yourself.
If you've ever had to draw that
proving
hard line
love
with
through
family,
money,
cut the
until I
cord,
realized
protect
real
your
love
peace,
doesn't
or
come with a
finally say
transaction
enough.
history. Drop your
I'm
story
okay
in the
now.
comments. Truly.
Did it hurt?
Traveling
Did
alone.
it free you?
Donating
Like,
to
if you've
causes
got your
that
own
matter.
version of this revenge
Reconnecting
turn
with old
liberation
friends
tale,
who never asked for a
subscribe
dime.
and hit the bell.
The house feels quieter,
time.
but it also
The
feels
sister-in-law
like
who
mine
tried to
for
take
the
the
first time
entire
in years.
estate.
And
Sometimes
how one
space
signature
is
is
the
the kindest
cold.
thing you can give someone. And the kindest thing you can give yourself. If you've ever had to draw that hard line with family, cut the cord, protect your peace, or finally say enough, drop your story in the comments. Did it hurt? Did it free you? Like, if you've got your own version of this revenge turn liberation tale, subscribe and hit the bell. Next time, the sister-in-law who tried to take the entire estate and how one signature stopped her cold.